Chapter 4, Ron and Deke. As time passed, Dasinga was evicted from the bed and breakfast and was invited to live with Ron because he had rented a new home, and he was not using his basement, which was on the opposite of the house, giving him full access to his kitchen. But little did he know what he was in for. He would spend a lot of time listening to R&B artists of that time, like Keith Washington, Shantae Moore, Joe Thomas, and Anita Baker, while thinking about decay. Listening to his music and visiting decay was his only avenue of relaxation. He looked for work, but the distance to the nearest bus stop was far, but he went looking for work, and when he wasn't looking, he was there in that basement writing his ass off. The man was obsessed with that woman. During this time, he wrote a pot to piss en. Faking and shaken, trying to be who you want to be, trying to impress to the rest, who you are. Someone special. Something special. Trying to be a superstar. Got all that mess, but can't pass a simple grammar test. Refuse to be self, want to be someone else. I'm looking at your heart, looking at your soul. I've noticed that you need to let your heart mend, hating self so much. Your mind is confused, you don't know what to do. Trying so hard to be someone else. Mind corrupted by sin. Yet, you don't have a pot to piss in. He wrote. Do I hate white folks? So many of us black folks hate white folks. Why? Slavery. Civil rights. Jim Crow. And much, much more. How many of us know of the many white folks that die for us black folks? Sure, we have heard of the ones that died in Mississippi, fighting for the right for us to vote. But it has been crossed out of our minds, because of time. How about the many white folks that helped Harriet Tubman with the Underground Railroad? Do I hate white folks? No, that's a sin. I would have to hate more than half my kin, not to mention myself. Again, that's a sin. We all must live together, blend. Stop hating because of skin. Nowadays, white folks from the east, north, and west come down to the south. Unhappy about what comes out of our mouth. There are a few, hell, there are many, but don't judge anyone until they open their mouth. Look at their actions to see if they are prejudice. I have to ask, are you? Pride is far from prejudice. If I kill your family, will you hate every man from Louisiana? Every dread? A little history, they are not called dreads, but locks. Your kin called them dreads, to create self-hate and prejudice. Treat hatred with love, hatred with hatred causes a fire too big to put out. So, watch the words that come out of your mouth. Not all white folks, not all black folks are consumed with hate. Try to relate. Before you boast, ask yourself. Do I hate white folks? Lastly, he wrote. Cry aloud and spare not. Rat-a-tat-tat goes the gat, that sprays the brother on the corner. Ring-a-ding, ding is the song they sing, to carry the body away. Boo, hoo-hoo, are the cries from the eyes of the mother, who birthed the young brother. All these sounds ring out every night in the streets, that are filled with the blood of all the people in flight. Even as you read, and listen to the words of reason. Someone's time has ran out. As their loved ones scream and shout. Here, my dear, is the solution. Cleanse yourself of the pollution. All of the things you can do without. When you have been cleansed, then you can blend. Tell everyone of the power. Hell is real, hell is hot. So, cry aloud, and spare not. Dasinga didn't know what he was getting himself into by moving in with Ron, because Ron was a gigolo dealing with twin brothers who were 19 years old and had a few older gentlemen, as well. He was spoiling most of them with gifts. Dasinga spent most of his time at Decay's and stayed to himself, in the basement, but when he was home, he was bothered by Ron's activities, even though he couldn't hear a thing, and Rod kept his company in his room all the time, out of respect for Dasinga. Dasinga felt he was being too sexually active with AIDS. Many people were being killed for not telling people about their condition, before having sex with them, and he felt Ron might be doing the same thing. Decay would come over from time to time, and she and Ron became the best of friends. One day after Decay had left, Dasinga and Ron were watching television. Ron said to Dasinga, "She's really into you, you'd be a fool to let her go." "Hell, if I weren't gay, I'd be happy to find someone like her." Dasinga smiled, "Shit, I'll never let her go, she's the best thing I've seen in my entire life." Just then, one of the twins came into the house. Dasinga was about to excuse himself, and Ron stopped him. "No, you're okay, he just came to get something." Ron excused himself and walked to his bedroom. While waiting, the twin turned to Dasinga, "You're gay too?" Dasinga said, "Hell nah, Ron, just my friend." Dasinga, in turn, asks him, "How long have you been gay?" The twin, with a strange look, "I'm not gay, I'm a giver, not a receiver." Dasinga said, "Huh?" The young man laughed, "I give, I don't take. Well, I take the money and clothes, but I don't play that other shit." Rubbing his head in confusion, Dasinga tried to understand the young man's logic, but Ron came in, and they went outside. Upon Ron's return, Dasinga asked, "What in the hell do you have these young men thinking they ain't gay? He talks about giving and receiving." Ron said, "I don't have him thinking that way, many feel that way. Especially those that come out of jail or prison. You think I'm going to correct him, and even if I did, you think they are going to stop?" Dasinga shook his head, "Hell, I don't know." One day, while in a rush to get ready to visit Decay, he ran to the bathroom, and to his surprise, he found towels with feces mixed with blood. Upon looking at it, he ran to the toilet and lifted the seat. There were feces mixed with blood in there as well. Just then, Decay blows her horn. He runs outside and vomits on the side of her car. He waited for a few seconds and entered her car. "Are you all right?" she asked. "No, but I gotta get out of that house, as soon as possible, because he's just a madman." Decay asked, "What did Ron do?" "He's a sweet person." Dasinga said. "Yes, he is, but his sexual activities disturb me. He's a whole hoe." Decay laughed, "Not half a hoe, but a whole hoe? Hell, you could have stayed with me when you first moved in with him." Dasinga said, "I didn't want to rush, but if it's all right with you, I want to move in tomorrow, while you're off." Decay smiled, "No problem. Now, let's go and enjoy the rest of the evening and get your mind off that stuff. Got a taste for some buffalo wings?" Dasinga smiled back, "Do shit stink?" She laughed, "Not mine." Dasinga looked at her, "Shid." "Oh, okay," and she drove off. The following day Decay called Dasinga, "I have to work this weekend, they just called me in, so you have to find another way to get your stuff to my apartment." Afterward, he spoke to Ron about his situation, and Rod made a few calls. "Hi, Dasinga," Ron said. "I got a friend who's a mechanic, and this guy owes him some money for fixing his truck and hasn't paid as of yet. Here's the key, and you have to return it before Monday," Dasinga said. "Hell, it's Wednesday, and all I got is a bunch of clothes and a few books. Ain't no way I won't be finished by Monday." He drove a load over to Decay's apartment before she went to work and got a copy of the apartment key. He made dinner and cleaned up the apartment, while she was at work. He told himself he'd made another load the following day because he only had a few small things left and took a break. Until that Friday night. Trying to avoid that Friday night traffic, he took the back roads, where he ran straight into a checkpoint. "License and registration, please?" the officer said. "Well, sir, I don't have a license, and the vehicle is a loaner from a friend." The officer went to his vehicle, got on the police cruiser computer, and returned after 5 minutes. "Sir, you are under arrest. Not only do you not have your license, but this vehicle has also been reported stolen." Dasinga knew he would go to jail for not having a license, but he was in shock when the officer said the truck was stolen. Dasinga felt hopeless, because he was miles from home, and a stolen vehicle sounded like a lot of time to serve in jail. He stayed in jail over the weekend, but out of surprise, he heard an officer call his name, and he started out processing him that Monday night. He walked to the exit, and Decay was right there. She had called Ron frantically, thinking he was over at his house. Ron and Decay worked together and found out he was in jail. They had run around all day trying to do what was necessary to get him out of there. Mammalean looked at Cush. Child, this sun felt good at first, but not no mo. Let's get out of this sun and find some shade. As they moved their chairs into the shade, Mammalean continued. Dasinga was released from jail, but it was late, after Decay posted bail and waited for his release. Dasinga looked at her and couldn't believe it. Ron? She shook her head and smiled. Ron. Dasinga embraced her so hard her back popped. I'm sorry, sweetheart, but you always surprise me with your love for me, and I'm truly grateful. She was already late, so she gave him bus fare and rushed to work. It took him a week to escape the shock of being in jail, but it reminded him of being in the army. Still unemployed, he finally landed a job just around the corner from Decay's apartment complex as a short-order cook. Mammalean paused. I need to stop here for a minute because this was a time in our history when computers, well, not just computers, but technology started to creep into our lives. Our black, Wakatilians women started to creep past our men in society. Before you knew it, things got out of hand. Don't get me wrong, it was always like this after the so-called women's movement, but the movement were for the white women and our women got caught up in it. The division of our family unit slowly became null and void. A popular word grew until there was an outbreak. That word was single mother. Now there has always been single mother, but mostly because of death in the family and they were married, widows. But these independent women started party, drinking, laying down with any man who could satisfy their monetary needs and able to buy them a drink or two. Hell, you were in luck if they went and got you your own special bottle of that expensive stuff. Because they had said they didn't need a man, until it came to sex. What they really were saying was, why settle for one man when I can have any one of them? Imagine having 8 kids by 8 different men. One of these men might care about their child and come by and do for his child and the rest didn't. But what about the other kids seeing this? What would they do? How would they feel? Animosity became hatred for your own kin. Different children reacted differently to the situation, but chaos began to brew. By the 1990s, all hell started to break loose. You see, during Decay and Dasinga's time, around 1992, Wakatilian men, well, those who could see, started seeing themselves get left behind their women economically. Wakatilian men began to think a certain way because they didn't have money, and their women did. Our men were miserable, disappointed, and dissatisfied even to be around. Crack cocaine played its part, and this was part 2 of that, destroy the Wakatilian men, pandemic. You see, men associated their worth with money in a relationship, and when they didn't have that, some of our women started looking down on that, and a whirlwind of destruction came for our people. For years later, when Dasinga went to a Wakatilian college, he noticed that 80% of the college were women, while 18% were men and the rest were other ethnicities. Most women graduated, but out of the Wakatilian men, only 8% graduated, and Decay already had a college degree when they met. Many of them didn't know what had happened until it was too late. Psychological warfare at its best. Okay, that's enough of that, we'll talk more about that later. I just had to say that before I got to the next part, so you'll understand why things happen next. 2 weeks after finding that job, they were impressed with his work ethic and hired him for the night cleanup, and he agreed so he could work the same hours as Decay. The two loved each other very much, and they did so much together and were happy together. They eventually decided to move closer to her job at an apartment complex called Windjammer Apartment. Life there was quite different, because the place was better, which meant everything was higher in price, and Dasinga was too far from his old job and had to quit because of the move. Decay worked longer hours, and they would visit nearby parks to walk, talk, and relax. They now lived around the corner from Stone Hogan Park. It was their very own sanctuary, and it was often always peaceful. One day after his first big argument with Decay, Mammalean asked Cush, "Can you imagine what their argument was over?" Cush said, "This money thing?" Mammalean shook her head, "Yes," and Dasinga walked to the park with mixed emotions and wrote, "You remind me As I take a stroll through the park, thoughts of you comes across my mind. You are a beautiful treasure that I hold so dear in my heart till the end of time. A thought of joy, pain, and passion crosses my mind. There's no use for me to lie, good times and bad are both cherished in my heart. When we're together, even when we do drive each other apart. The trees, they remind me of you. The stubborn things you did. Stubborn things you do. Beating against the wind, you held your ground. The stars seem so distant, yet so close. With the beauty of the night, you do shine. The moon overtakes the brightness of the stars. So, did you. Even though I treasure your touch, I do miss you so much. The sun, the heat of your temper would consume me. Which makes me run for shade. Deep inside, I know I need you, I want you. The animals in nature have their purpose in life, it's to comfort us when we don't know what to do. The laughter they bring, just with their presence, seems to make us forget the pain inside. The fire that burns inside for true love, it makes us do things that we thought we would never do. This goes for me and you. The rivers bring about a calmness that we all need in our life, to think and use wisdom in our choices, our decisions in life. The skies. The skies, the atmosphere is a ruler, a measuring tool, to show us how much we can gain with love in our life. Because we are the sons and daughters of a king. You remind me, you remind me, you remind me, of all these things. After realizing the burden that Decay felt, Dasinga started going out and hustling, making anywhere from $50 to $300 in a day. He refused to sell drugs ever again, but he had talents he learned while in the military with technology that he thought he needed a job to do them. People would call him, all times of the day, to fix their computers and help with songwriting and things of that nature, and they had no problem paying him for his services. He would take what he needed and give the rest to Decay for whatever she needed to do with it. They studied the Torah, and Dasinga would teach her what he knew about Sabaoth. What frightened her the most was the realization of demonic spirits, but he would always encourage her that one thing that can defeat evil is the mighty power of Sabaoth. Dasinga loved to make fun of her birthday, because it rhymed. He almost sings her birthday song to her that he wrote. 2 for 6, 6, I say 2, for 6, 6, it's your way on her birthday, it's cake day, for my sis. However, this particular day, he presented her with a leather-bound Torah this time, and she was in tears. Happy birthday, baby, he said. Wiping her tears, thank you, baby, she said. It eased her for a while, but she wanted him to get a regular job, but having only a high school diploma would never be enough in Dasinga's eyes. Back then, while the men were going to jail and prisons by the thousands, women were having abortions. They cared more about a career or a job than bringing life into the world. Being a mother meant nothing, literally nothing to them. Until they got old and found themselves without children to take care of them, they simply got a pet, animals of all kinds, dogs, cats, birds, and even fish, you name it. But soon as that animal died, they died, because of loneliness. I said all that to say this. One day, Decay sat Dasinga down, I'm pregnant, but I'm not keeping it. From the second she said she was pregnant, Dasinga was so happy he didn't know what to do until a millisecond later, she said she would not keep it. His heart sunk to the bottom of his foot, and even the thought of an abortion saddened him. He just got up and left the apartment. The silent treatment lasted for a while, but he loved her. 6 months later, she approached him again, I'm pregnant, but I'm going to keep it this time. Dasinga was so happy he didn't know what to do with himself. To him, it was a gift representing the love they shared for each other, a child from someone he loved and wanted to spend his life with forever. A few months in, Deke got sick, and they rushed to the nearest clinic. Dasinga was there by her side, but everything was okay. According to the doctor, since it was her first child, she was experiencing some morning sickness. One night, Decay was in so much pain that she could not stand. Dasinga, I need you to drive, I'm in too much pain, I cannot shift gears and drive. Deke said. Dasinga was scared because his glasses were broken, and the way to the hospital was not only dark, but had many curves, and he knew he would drive fast. Baby, you know, I can't see at night, and the roads are dangerous, and there's no light going down Stone Road. Decay was now not only in pain, but enraged, but Dasinga refused to drive for their safety. Dasinga was logical. Like most men are like most females, she was emotional, and well, she felt he was a heartless son of a bitch and held it against him. After arriving at the hospital, they rushed Decay into surgery. She was experiencing an ectopic pregnancy, and she was clearly in danger at that moment. Dasinga stayed at the hospital as long as Decay was there. He slept in a chair next to her bed, catering to her every need, running back and forth from the hospital, and retrieving things she needed from home. Decay was finally able to go home. He was cooking, cleaning, and helping her get around until she was better. Lying next to her one day, he wrote, "It's you. To the keeper of my insanity. To the one who makes it possible for me to be me." Years, tears, have gone by. Because love was promised to me many times before, but never kept. Thinking I knew love in the past, that eventually bit me on the ass. Hated my women for years, thinking they couldn't be trusted, because of those tears. Those years. And writing about my pain, it seems as if one could go insane. However, you were gain. It's you that got me feeling such joy. It's you that have me feeling like a boy. With a brand new toy. Falling for a few, thinking they were the one, but they too were playing games. Just having fun. But now. Oh, but now. I'm walking outside with a smile on my face. It's you, it's you. And for you, it's the same way too. Must admit, I didn't think this day would come, a time of joy and laughter, and just having fun. We talk about problems, talk about the past, talk about everything, and still able to laugh. It's you, I want. It's you I need. I've locked up my heart, for many years, because of those that tore it apart. But you found the key, it's you. Why I'm no longer blue. The pain of losing not one, but two kids had Dasinga depressed for a while, but the latest loss hit both of them pretty hard. But a few months later, they returned to a place of peace, or so they thought. Decay started redecorating the apartment with white, everything white. Living room set, and even a toy poodle named Cookie. They even had a little white convertible Mazda Miata. Dasinga took an old antique coffee table, sanded it down, and painted it white as well. When you walked into the apartment, you thought you were in heaven. Decay had an eye for interior decorating and put her heart into it, and Dasinga helped whenever he could. He just wanted her to be happy by any means necessary. Trying to deal with her happiness made him lose sight of the more profound pain he was going through. Depression kicked in, and the communication barrier became an issue for the two. Dasinga stopped cleaning and cooking and spent most of his time getting back into the music business, meeting local and national artists to sing his songs, but that didn't come quickly enough for him. Deke saw the frustration, and she introduced him to a group of women who needed songs. They recorded a few songs together, but even that strained the relationship. Decay was up one morning mad at him as the bills piled up. "You don't clean up, and your ass sits around watching television. That couch you sitting on, that shit is mine. That food in the refrigerator is my food." She got up and started throwing eggs in the sink. "These eggs, these are my fucking eggs." Dasinga got frustrated and moved out and got himself another bed and breakfast, but that same night, he had already missed Decay. He knew she was right, but he didn't know what to do about it. That night he wrote, "Have you seen my car? Someone stole my car. Have you seen it? It can't be far, it's about 5'5" in height, kinda petite in width, weighs 125 pounds, maybe less. That's the description I can give for now, because I haven't had any rest. Oh yeah, manufactured in the West Indies, along the territory of St. Thomas. The only reason I'm looking is 'cause I care. Can you help me find my car? I love my car, without it, I can't go very far. White interior, black exterior, it could not be far, my car. Please tell me if you've seen my car. The last time I saw it, I left the keys in the ignition. 'Cause I was on the phone, I simply forgot to lock it, until I realized it was gone. When I could not find the keys in my pocket. Someone slips in and now probably taken it for a ride. I miss washing my car with words of wisdom. Simple conversation of passion, it taught me how to love, share, and care. Now, my life without her is a nightmare. Running out of patience. Nervous as hell. Has he wrecked my car? Probably, repainted it, I don't know. Can't eat, can't sleep. Please Lord, tell me. Have you seen my car?